Greetings and good morning and welcome back to Scripture and Prophecy. I'm your host Sean. Today is Wednesday, December 6th, 2017. And today we're ready to do our study in the Gospel of Matthew. And we're looking at chapter 5 today, kind of a little bit of a longer chapter. And it's the Sermon on the Mount. And really we'll be covering this for like the next 3 weeks. In this sermon, Jesus gives the Beatitudes, and then he goes on to talk about what it looks like to be the salt and the light, and we kind of talked about that on our prophecy podcast last week. And then he goes into, the importance of being obedient to God, and then he kind of gives out these messages of what that looks like practically, and demonstrates that it's not a letter of the law issue as much as it is a heart issue. He gives an example, lust as an example. The law says you do not commit adultery, right? And so people would think, oh, well, I've never committed adultery. I've never, been intimate with another woman while I'm married and yada, yada, yada. But Jesus says, no, you're missing the point. If you even look at a woman with lust, you've already committed adultery with her in your heart. And so he's pointing out these things and just really making it clear that it's the intent of the heart just as much as it is the action. And so anyway, there'll be several or 3 weeks of this dealing with this Sermon on the Mount. Maybe one of the most important passages, a couple of chapters to study to get a perspective this is a message preached by the Son of God. So very, very important. So I'm going to get started here, and we're going to do the Beatitudes real quick. And then maybe before we move on, I'm going to share with you some commentary from Charles Spurgeon on each one of these Beatitudes. So without further delay, let's dig in. Matthew chapter 5. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. And when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth, and he taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they that do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Now before I jump into Spurgeon's commentary on these Beatitudes real quick, I want to just point out a couple of things. It says, Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sakes, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Sometimes people think, oh, these people are talking bad about me, or they're reviling me, they don't like me, and it's with good cause. You know what I mean? Because you actually are living in a shady way. This is saying, blessed are you when people persecute you and revile you, and they say manner of evil against you falsely, because it's not true, because of your relationship with Christ. Rejoice in that and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. All right, let me go through this commentary really quickly here, because we've still got a lot to read. All right, so blessed. Blessed are the poor in spirit. The poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is a paradox that puzzles. I'm reading Spurgeon's commentary. This is a paradox that puzzles many. For the poor in spirit often seems to have nothing, yet they have the kingdom of heaven, so they have everything. He who thinks the least of himself is the man of whom God thinks of the most. You are not poor in God's sight if you are poor in spirit. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. They are not only poor in spirit, but they are weeping, lamenting, mourning. Worldlings are frivolous, fricklesome, light-hearted, and loving everything that is akin to mirth. Yet it is not said of them, but those that mourn, that they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, not your high-spirited, quick-tempered men who will put up with no insult, your hectoring, lofty ones, who are ever ready and resent any real or imagined disrespect. There is no blessing here for them. But blessed are the gentle, those who are ready to be thought nothing of. See, it's about this heart. It's about not thinking so highly of yourself. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn and lament because of the things going on in this world. Blessed are the meek, those who don't have this high opinion of themselves, who can't, who are always ready to counter the attack and stand up for themselves and pride in themselves. Jesus is talking about the meek. For they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. The course of these Beatitudes is like going downstairs. They begin with spiritual poverty, went on to mourning, and came down to gentle spiritedness. And now we come to hunger and thirst, yet we have been going up all the time. For here we read, they shall be filled. What more can we say than full satisfaction? Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. The merciful are those who are always ready to forgive, always ready to help the poor and needy, always ready to overlook what they might well condemn. They shall obtain mercy. There's a lot of people within Christianity, especially with the movements that I'm seeing online, that really could learn how a little mercy. All right, next one. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. When the heart is washed, the dirt is taken from the mental eye. The heart that loves God is connected with an understanding that perceives God. There is no way of seeing God until the heart is renewed by a sovereign grace. It is not greatness of intellect, but purity of affection that enables us to see God. Next one. Blessed are the peacemakers. Not only the passively peaceful, but the actively peaceful, who try to rectify mistakes and to end all quarrels in a peaceful way. For they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sakes, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. They have it now. They are participating in it already. For as Christ was persecuted, and he is again persecuted in them, they are partakers of his kingdom's sufferings, so they share in his kingdoms. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely, for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted the prophets which were before you. You have an elevation by persecution. You are lifted into a peerage of martyrdom, though you occupy but an inferior place in it. Yet you are in it, therefore. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad. And that's some of the commentary from Charles Spurgeon on these Beatitudes. All right, let's finish the rest of chapter 5 here, starting with verse 13. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its savour, wherewith shall it be salted? It is henceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and trodden under the foot of men. Now, I talked about this last week on the Prophecy Podcast about being a salt and a light. And Jesus really talks about how, if you don't have any saltiness, salt without saltiness is worthless. It's not even good for the manure pile, as he says in the book of Luke. Let me see if I can find that here. On my notes here. Yeah, Luke 14. So if you go to Luke chapter 14, verses 34 and 35, he says this, Salt is good, but if the salt have lost its savour, wherewith shall it be seasoned? It is neither fit for land, nor yet for the dunghill. But men cast it out. He that has an ear to hear, let him hear. That's very strong words. We're supposed to be the salt and the light, and if salt doesn't have its saltiness, it's not even good for the manure pile. Verse 14, Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set up on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but put it on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works, and glorify your Father, which is in heaven. In the world being as dark as it is, you should be a beacon of brightness, because the light always shines brightest in the dark. And you need to think about that. When you go to work, when you're at your family, when you're, wherever you are, you should be so bright because the world around you is so dark. And I've been thinking about that even as my own self. Am I a light on a hilltop? Or if I put it under a bowl? Moving forward, verse 17. Think not that I have come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. By the way, Jesus is the fulfillment of the law. He lived it out in every way, in every perfect manner, so that he could be a perfect sacrifice for us. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass away, not one jot or tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of the least of these commandments, and shall teach men, so he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter the kingdom of heaven. So Jesus is saying, don't think that I've come here to abolish everything. Those who teach, those who break the least of these commandments will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. That's a message for the greasy grace lukewarm church today. Moving forward, now he's going to start talking about these commandments. Whoever should break the least of these commandments, and he's getting ready to tell us what these are. And that's what we're going to be looking at over the next couple of weeks. First one on the list is anger. Verse 21. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, Thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be endangered of judgment. But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause, let's not forget that part, without a cause. People try to take the scriptures and make him mean whatever he wants. He didn't say, if you're angry with your brother, that you're in danger of hellfire. He says, whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, Thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. There's a lot of people that come and say a lot worse things about me on the comments, who are supposed to be my brethren in Messiah. This could be a message for that person. Verse 23, Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thou brother hast aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Agree with thy adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. Verily I say unto you, thou shalt by no means come out hence until hast paid uttermost farthing. Moving on to lust. Verse 27. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and that not the whole body should be cast into hell. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off, and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members shall perish, and not that the whole body should be cast into hell. Look, he's saying it's better to not have your right eye than to be cast into hell because you can't stop sinning. Cut off whatever it is that's causing you to sin. If you're addicted to pornography, we're dealing with lust here, and you can't get away from it, maybe you need to get rid of your computer. Maybe you need to go to the gym during hours when there's practically nobody there. Set up boundaries for yourself so that you're not falling into these traps. Jesus is saying, if you even look at a woman with lust, you've committed adultery with her in your heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. It's better to go into the kingdom of heaven with one eye than the whole body be cast into hell. Divorce. Verse 31. It has been said, whoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. But I say unto you, that whoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, let's not forget the caveat that's here again. He's not saying anybody who divorces their wife has this problem. He's saying anybody who divorces their wife except for sexual immorality. Saving for the cause of fornication. In other words, you are not to divorce your spouse. You make an adulterer out of her and out of yourself unless they're being unfaithful. There's sexual immorality taking place there. That whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery. And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced committeth adultery. Next one is oaths, making oaths. Again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord thine oaths. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Neither shalt thou swear by thy head, because thou canst make one hair white or black. But let your communication be, yea, yea, nay, nay. For whatsoever is more than these committeth evil. In other words, he's saying, you don't have to say, oh, I swear on the Bible, I swear. Just let your yes be yes and your no be no. Quite simple. Retaliation. Verse 38. Ye have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let them have thy cloak also. And whoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. In other words, 2 miles. Give to him that ask thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn not away. Love your enemies. Verse 43. Ye have heard that it has been said, that thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and the unjust. He's saying, be like God, because God lets it rain and shine on everyone, good and bad. And so likewise, we need to demonstrate being loving towards everyone. Not just our brothers in the faith, but everyone, even our enemies, even those who hate us. We should be praying for those who use us and persecute us, that we may be the children of our Father, who is in heaven, for he makes the sun to rise on the evil and the good, and he sends rain on the just and the unjust. And he goes on to end with this: for if you love them which love you, what reward have you? Do not even the publicans do the same? And if you salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans do so? But be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which in heaven is perfect. And that is chapter 5. And we could spend 3 or 4 weeks just on this chapter alone. But for the sake of time and for the sake of reading, trying to get the Gospels read, we're going to end it there. And we'll be back again next week for chapter 6, which starts getting into giving to the needy, the Lord's Prayer, and fasting, and what it means to lay up treasures in heaven. And the week after that, we were going to read where it talks about judging other people, and the golden rule, and the tree and its fruit, and the part where Jesus says, "I never knew you," and building your house on a rock. And so that's what we're going to be covering for the next couple of weeks, this Sermon on the Mount. Well, I hope that you've been blessed this morning, and hopefully you have some things to think about what it looks like to actually live this out. It's about the heart. Sometimes we get about, checking things off a list, when it's about what's inside, what's really in you. And because God looks at the heart of men, and honestly, that should terrify us. That is the broadcast. I'll be back with you with a prophecy podcast within the next day or two. And until then, peace and grace be with all of you, and God bless.